Yes, over the 26 centuries since the life and death of the historical Buddha, great amounts of confusion have crept in to this philosophical and yogic tradition. Why is that? Well, Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. That suckiness looks like patriarchy, the system wherein people are conditioned to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. And the more rigid we are, the more literal-minded we become. The more literal-minded we are, the more we are guaranteed to misunderstand figures of speech, metaphors and similes and hyperbolic statements, and the like. Humans have evolved to think symbolically. All complex life forms have evolved to think symbolically. Perhaps that is why we find figures of speech in every language and in every civilization. Bearing that in mind, let us, like a grandmother peeling a potato to make mashed potatoes, let's peel back the confusion generated by patriarchy's literal-minded thinking. When one reads the Heart Sutra, one can isolate 3 statements to make the following sentence. There are no sights, there are no eyeballs, there is no awareness of sights. That's not literal, that's figurative. So let's take the metaphor and reverse engineer it into a simile. So we would do it this way. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sights or eyeballs or visual awareness we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel at least a little bit less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and less graspable. At least for a moment, at least for a little bit, until the next inhalation when the cycle begins afresh. Let's take it another level. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sights or eyeballs or visual awareness we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel at least a little bit like they don't exist, at least for a moment, until the next inhalation when the cycle begins afresh. So now we understand what is meant by no sights, no eyes, no visual awareness. Now let's apply it to this conundrum explored by this series, when elitists deliberately confuse people by saying, you must liberate all beings from samsara, but there are no other beings, there is no liberation, there is no enlightenment, and there is no you to liberate them. It's just playing with words. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sense of self or other or samsara we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel at least a little bit less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and less solid, at least for a moment, at least a little bit, until our next inhalation when the cycle begins afresh. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be complicated. If we set aside some time once every 12 hours to sit and breathe and watch and rest, the mastery of the Buddha's path of enlightenment becomes an inevitability. And our beneficial effect, our gentle and beneficial effect upon others also becomes an inevitability. So there is no need to rely upon the neurosis of patriarchy to make things happen. We can cooperate with our bodies, we can cooperate with our minds, we can cooperate with our neighbors in the most loving and gentle and wise way to generate the greatest good effortlessly.